In this video, we discuss knowledge not as mere information, but as personal encounter, because how you conceive of ultimate reality shapes the way that you go about knowing it. When it comes to knowing, consider the following example from C.S. Lewis. If the thing that you're trying to know is a rock, then all of the initiative is on your side. You can weigh it, you can measure it, you can study it, but the rock is not revealing itself to you in any way. It's just sitting there. Now, if you're trying to know an animal, most of the initiative is on your side. You can try to get to know an animal, but the animal can run away. It has some initiative of its own. Consider the difference between a dog, who very much wants to get to know you, and a cat who doesn't want to get to know you at all. Now, if you are trying to get to know a human being, then it's at least 50-50. You can glean things from being in their presence, you can try to read their body language and their face, but if you're really going to get to know them well, then the other person must in some way open up and reveal themselves to you. But if the person is a very important person, like a celebrity or the president, then almost all of the initiative is on their side. If you are going to know them, they must be the one to take the first step towards getting to know you. Now consider the fact that if the person who you are trying to get to know is God, then knowing God would not be like knowing a rock, or an animal, or a person, or even a very important person. Knowing God would be different. If knowing God is indeed personal, then knowing God is going to involve a lot less calculation and analysis, and a lot more relationship. In other words, it will require humility, and patience, and trust, but most of all, it will require personal self-disclosure. This brings me to a very helpful resource on the question of faith and knowledge and certainty and doubt, and it's this book, Proper Confidence by Leslie Newbigin. Now in this book, Newbigin questions the classical model of knowledge. In this model, he writes, "We begin by asking questions, and we formulate these questions on the basis of our experience of the world. In this enterprise, we are in control of operations. We decide which questions to ask, and the decisions necessarily condition the nature of the answers. The things we desire to understand are not active players in the game of learning. They are inert and must submit to our questioning. The resulting knowledge is our achievement and our possession." And that's the way that we usually approach these sorts of issues. We come up with what we think are the most important questions, and then we direct those questions at the object of our inquiry in search of answers so that we might have a better grip on the world. But there is another way of knowing. Personal knowing, knowledge through personal and relational encounter. In fact, many languages have two different verbs to contrast these two forms of knowing. Here's Newbigin again. "It is the kind of knowing that we seek in our relations with other people. In this kind of knowledge, we are not in full control. We may ask questions, but we must also answer the questions put by the other. We can only come to know others in the measure in which they are willing to share. The resulting knowledge is not simply our own achievement, it is also the gift of others." In other words, there is a profound difference between speaking about someone when they are not present and talking about them when they are actually in the room. Once they are present, we are no longer in control because they can talk back. This doesn't mean that the questioning ceases. It means that our questions actually become better, as the presence of the person redirects the conversation. Now, the Christian faith claims that we can know things in this relational way because a personal encounter has actually occurred. Ultimate reality confronts us in the presence of the Creator and ultimately in the person of Jesus. And that means that we have some questions to answer as well. Where are you? As God asks Adam in Genesis 3. Who do you say that I am? As Jesus asks his disciples. And follow me. The point is that if ultimate reality is personal, then real knowledge is impossible without personal encounter and personal commitment. This kind of knowledge is unattainable without a prior act of trust. It requires not a leap of faith, but a step of trust. Trust in the God whose character has been revealed over the course of redemptive history and in the context of a personal relationship. So where does this leave us in terms of certainty? Here's Newbegin again. If the place where we look for ultimate truth is in a story, and if, as is the case, we are still in the middle of the story, then it follows that we walk by faith and not by sight. If ultimate truth is sought in an idea, a formula, or a set of timeless laws or principles, then we do not have to recognize the possibility that something totally unexpected may happen. Insofar as our knowledge is accurate, we shall be able to predict the future. Future and past events are governed by the same laws, the same principles, and the same realities. But if we find ultimate truth in a story that has not yet been finished, we do not have that kind of certainty. The certainty we have rests on the faithfulness of the one whose story it is. In other words, there are two ways to fall off the horse when we think about the relationship of faith and knowledge. Call them absolute certainty and absolute mystery. Absolute certainty is simply not available to us. But where we do not have grounds for absolute certainty, we do have grounds for what Newbegin calls proper confidence. A confidence that is grounded in the personal response of trust in the personal address of God. At the same time, absolute mystery is not our situation either. Now, we should be humble in the face of mystery, knowing that our minds are finite. But just as we doubt our faith, we should also doubt our doubts. So often we contrast honest doubt and blind faith. But the truth is that doubt can be blind as well, and that faith can be honest. We can say there is so much that we don't understand, but we can know some things, not with empirical certainty of scientific knowledge perhaps, but with a different kind of knowledge, the knowledge that comes from personal encounter and experience, the knowledge that comes from trust. We do not have certainty about abstract truths, but we have confidence in a person, in Jesus Christ, in whom is the heart of the truth and the goodness and the beauty of Christian faith. I'll let Newbegin have the final word. He writes, "The confidence proper to a Christian is not the confidence of one who claims possession of demonstrable and indubitable knowledge. It is the confidence of one who has heard and answered the call that comes from the God through whom and for whom all things were made. The God who says, 'Follow me.'"